Development of the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines is a harmonizing unit of the university in advancing, by the name itself, human development. It's a thematic and programmatic center that focuses on issues such as poverty, sustainable development, gender and development, peace and culture, conflict resolution, disaster resilience, clean and renewable energy, education, language studies, sociological and anthropological studies, and among others. At the heart of the center is the people, the community, and the society in general. the center is a pool of social scientists and other experts that seeks to advance and bring about the needs and the welfare of the people. Currently, the center is working on a 2-year, about 10 million grant by the Commission on Higher Education and the National Commission on Culture and the Arts. It's a project that seeks to document the indigenous knowledge system and practices on plant utilization by the Talaan Digs in Talakag and Higaonons in Malitbog, Bukidnon. This study is envisioned to come up with tangible data so that our policymakers, decision makers, and even academicians would be able to come up with a sound, inclusive decisions, policies, actions, projects, and programs, not only to promote the cultures of our indigenous peoples, but at the same time protect and preserve their cultural heritage. We are so excited for the conclusion of this project because we have identified quite a number of plants which can be used for value adding or for the conduct of further studies so that you'll be able to advance our local products. Apart from this ongoing project, recently the center also extends its assistance with the Center of Precision Agriculture led by Dr. Edgar Allan Poe. Through our collaboration, we were able to accomplish the monitoring and evaluation of a Korean government project in Malagana, Claveria for our corn growers. Currently, we are also in discussion for an impact assessment project for a local government unit. Apart from these research initiatives that the center is engaged into, the center also has launched last year 2 community outreach programs. One that seeks to promote food security and minimize the impact of the pandemic to the mental health of our people via the promotion of community gardens or survival vegetable gardens. This project is in our year 2 now, and we are grateful with our partners such as the local government of Cagayan de Oro through its Agricultural Productivity of Operations Office, Glenro, and we also have the Department of Agriculture, ATI or Agricultural Training Institute 10, Green Minds Incorporated, Kids Who Farm, JCI Cagayahan Gold, and academic units in the university such as the College of Agriculture, the Department of Technology Technicians Education, Department of Technology Communication Management, Department of Teaching Languages of the CDO campus. The project has transitioned from the promotion of home growers, the transition from the promotion of growing your own vegetable gardens in your backyard. This year, we have adopted 2 barangays, Barangay Pagatpat and Barangay Tablon. The center with its partners is hoping that the community gardens of the 2 barangays would be well established and sustainable. We are hoping that this project called Gulayan sa Kabalayan or Gardens for Sustainable Kitchen or GSK CDO would continue on, and we would be able to engage other communities to go into growing their own survival vegetable gardens. Second, the community outreach project that the center is currently engaged in is with the project called In Harmony COVID Conversation. It's a an effort to send out proper, verified, and correct information. We understand that with the process of the social media, studies revealed that majority of the Filipinos get information via Facebook, and we understand that not all in the Facebook are verified information. So through the social media platforms, same the Facebook, we hope that we through this project we are able to send out and enlighten rather our brethren that they will be properly informed and that they would be able to come up with a sound decisions. In all this, the center hopes that there will be more engagements with other stakeholders from the government and the non-government agencies. We take pride in our collaboration and facilitation capabilities apart from the conduct of researches and other community outreach projects. If they say science puts reason to things, we at the Center for Human Development envisions to put a heart in all that we do. Because at the core of all that we're doing, we believe that we only have one earth. We are to care and share and live in harmony.
Our Almighty Father, we thank you for your compassion, for the gift of life, and for your creations.
You unfailingly listen to the petitions of your children, and together, as people of diverse religions,
spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions of USTP community,
who invoke you by different names, humbly pray that you give us courage, wisdom, hope, and peace.
As we face this pandemic, please continue to provide us with our needs.
We humbly ask for the safety of our frontliners, that they will be equipped with medical resources,
and with physical, mental, and emotional strength to withstand the challenges of the time.
May our health experts and innovators find a cure for this unpredictable disease.
And may you guide our leaders in listening and responding to the voices of the people, so that they may have the conscience to render service without counting the cost.
Help us remember that what we are fighting against are not the people around us,
but an entity we cannot easily see. We pray for guidance that we may be able to continue the academic year.
regardless of the current situation. May you continually give our faculty and staff the vitality and grit to pursue their passion for service.
most especially the willingness and lure to transition to the new normal of teaching and learning.
Father,
We
we ask you to bless the community.
The administration, the faculty and staff, and the students.
Make us your beacon of hope, love,
Love
and peace, so that we become instruments of healing.
Lead us towards your path so this challenging journey will conclude in communal victory.
Amen.
Here to be, here on the platter, often the flowers we cherish high. To hurry our training, advise best education with hands that do the minds that think we will not fail. We shall pursue defeats won't phase us nor discourage us, for God shall be our guiding star. Raise our banner to the sky, watch it wave with great serene. All the century voices love for the glory and honor of our school. We pledge our hearts and need to be loyal and true for it, and today dear alma mater, the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines.
Good day, everyone. I am Lorena Taglukop, your host for today. I'd like to warmly welcome you in this webinar on publishing in peer-reviewed journals via Facebook Live. This webinar was made possible by the Center for Human Development of the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. So I believe we have a lot of viewers at the moment, and I also would like to believe that they are coming from various places and agencies in the country based on their registration. Aside from those coming from CDO and Misamis Oriental, we also have viewers from Oriental Mindoro, Oroquieta City, Quezon, Surigao, Agusan Sur, among others. Again, welcome to this webinar, which was organized with a noble interest in mind to get rid of barriers and aid us in publishing in peer-reviewed journals. Actually, I would not be surprised if your purposes of attending this webinar would be as varied as the places where you, our viewers, came from. Starting from the simple, I would like to learn how to publish, to the more complicated, I'd like to immerse in the complexity of the peer review system. I would say you came to the right place. Today's webinar will let you take a sneak peek at the very vast world of publishing in peer reviewed journals. But before we start, please don't forget to fill out the attendance sheet, which is pinned in the comments section. Also, towards the end of the webinar, an evaluation link will be given, which you need to fill out as well, and which in turn will auto generate your certificate of attendance. I am encouraging you to raise questions during the Q&A. Just key in your queries and I will gladly read them for you. Don't worry, we will have ample time addressing your queries. And just in case you are starting to think, how on earth could this short webinar cover everything about paper publishing? Well, I have to admit, it couldn't really. But you might be interested that an upcoming workshop is already on its way where all the nitty gritty of paper publication will be discussed. The schedule will be posted here at In Harmony page. So go on, hit the like button so you'll get updated. And please, you may share today's episode as well. All right, I have said a lot. I'd like to focus the limelight to our resource speaker for today. Our speaker is a faculty member at the Department of Community and Environmental Resource Planning of the College of Human Ecology of UP Los Baños. He's currently teaching environmental and natural resource economics. He earned his master's degree in the international development at the International University of Japan and his PhD in International Development Studies at Ruhr University of Bochum in Germany, summa cum laude. After his PhD, our well traveled speaker worked as a postdoctoral researcher at Utrecht University in the Netherlands. Within 4 years, he has produced 18 research works published in peer reviewed journals. 13 of those are published in Web of Science and or Scopus Index journals, with one among the top 100 journals. His researches include the application of economic theories in the fields of energy, sustainability, climate change, and environmental science. He also published papers in education and behavioral sciences. Given this expertise in scientific writing and his fields, he has been a constant reviewer in three journals published in Elsevier, Wiley, Francis and Taylor, MDPI, and our very own Philippine Journal of Science since 2019. He is very passionate about sharing his knowledge and experiences to his students and colleagues through free research writing workshops and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to welcome the pride of Mindoro, Dr. Casper Bungaling Agaton.
Thank you, Dr. Lor, for an inspiring introduction. And thank you, Center for Human Development of the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, for giving me this opportunity to share my little knowledge and experience in publishing. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first part of this webinar series entitled Publishing in Peer-Reviewed Journals. Again, this part is just a teaser, which is only an introduction to the academic writing workshop that will be held next month. Our main agenda for today includes the who, what, where, why, and how of publishing in peer-reviewed journals. Specifically, we will discuss why we publish our research, who can publish in scientific journals, and where to publish. Then we will distinguish academic versus gray literature, open access versus subscription. Then we will identify who are predatory publishers and which are predatory journals. We will discuss various journal indexing and matrices that identifies the quality of journals, and finally discuss some general guidelines in selecting the most appropriate journal for your paper. I read some responses from the registration and hopeful that these topics will answer some of your questions, while the rest will be answered on our workshop in January 2022. Why do we publish research paper? So maybe you want a promotion, or it is required by your institution or university, or you just want to work to be recognized in the scientific community. So I outlined here four main reasons why we should publish research paper, which may identify as intrinsic or extrinsic motivation. So the first one is the improvement of your research work. The act of putting your research to paper will help you clarify your research goals and will help you reviewing and interpreting your own data and force you to compare your work with what is already existing or with those that are already published. And then peer review process gives you important feedback on the validity of your research approach or methods and can provide insights on what to do next for advancing and interpreting your work. And then writing and publishing puts your research into larger context rather than storing your research in the local library. Another is the advancement of science. So communicating the information that you have found in your research will help other researchers advance their work, thus building on the body of knowledge that exists in your field. So future researchers may cite your work in their research. Your published paper can help in the public understanding of research question. And then, of course, our primary goal is for our career growth. With having a robust body of published works helps advance your career as you are considered for academic appointments or promotions. And then publishing helps establish you as an author, as an expert in your field of knowledge. So you may be invited as a speaker in a conference or as a reviewer in a journal. And lastly, the internationalization of your institution. So number of papers published and cited in high impact journals reflect the quality of education of the university and its international standing. And peer-reviewed publication provides evidence that helps in the evaluation of merit of research funding requests. So these are just some of the reasons why you publish a research paper. There are more, and you may explore it while you are publishing. So what to publish? Can we just do a survey and then publish it in a journal? So here are some of the pointers on what can and cannot be published. So there is a huge discussion on the ethics of publishing your students' work. Maybe some of our colleagues did. So for ethical reasons, we should not publish them unless we recognize our students' role as the main author or one of the authors if our students' work is just a part of a larger research composed of various components. So simple rule, give credit where the credit is due. So what can we publish? First is a research that presents a major piece of new information or research tool or a technique. So if it's not new, It should extend, quantify, or elaborate an existing piece of work. Then developing a new product or improving an existing one, carrying out empirical work that has not been done before, and then using a different methodological approach to address a problem or provide a new interpretation using existing or known information. So if it's not new, you may repeat previous research, but you apply it in a different context. For example, you use a different country or you apply it in a different locality. And lastly, it may produce a critical analysis of something not previously examined. And this one pertains to article reviews, including bibliometric analysis or systematic analysis. So can anyone write a paper and then publish it in a journal? So theoretically, yes, anyone can publish. However, I know some journals that require a minimum level of education, usually PhD or PhD candidate, or a specific affiliation, usually university or research institutions. But in order to be accepted for a journal with reasonable reputation, there are several requirements. So I wrote some here, including the novelty or contribution, which is something new that adds to the body of knowledge. The experience, so the author should have experience in many areas to publish a good paper. And then publishing, of course, requires a lot of time to write. And in some cases, publishing is very expensive. Some institutions pay for the fees, so the author will not shoulder it. And in some countries like Europe, they pay for the fees instead of the authors. And last one is the reputation. It could be the reputation of the author or the reputation of the institution. So in case you are interested in publishing, and I'm assuming all of you are interested to publish in a journal, in a peer-reviewed journal, but you do not have these qualifications, but please do not be discouraged. You may start a research collaboration with an established author from your field. For instance, if you are attending a conference, then you can search the works of your co-attendees or the speaker and discuss your research ideas with them. So the rule here is collaboration and networking. So where to publish? If you have now a research paper at hand, the question is, where should you publish it? So you may look at your references and see which sources are the most common. But let us first distinguish gray literature versus academic literature. So when we say gray literature, this pertains to the information produced in electronic and print formats, not controlled by commercial publishing. So it should be noted that non-peer-reviewed publications may still be good and provide reliable information. So this includes conference proceedings, newsletters, reports, theses, patents, data, government documents, maps, clinical trials and blogs, videos, informal communications, preprints, and white papers. So most editors and reviewers look at the references of your paper to initially identify the quality of your work. And citing articles from, for example, Wikipedia or online news articles pose a bad impression to the authors and editors, resulting to rejection of your work. So in short, as much as possible, do not cite articles or um, references with or from gray literature. So on the other hand, an academic or scholarly literature refers to formal, reflective survey of the most significant and relevant works that are published and peer-reviewed academic research on a particular topic. So this include books such as print and electronic books or e-books, and also journal articles, which can be categorized as original research article or article review or review article, theoretic, theoretical article, a book review, editorial, or case studies. And as you can see here on the right, these are the well-known publishers of academic or scholarly literature. Again, if you are publishing your work in a reputable journals, make sure that your references consist of mostly academic literature. So where to publish? So publishing in peer-reviewed journals can be open access or by subscription. And when we say open access, they are freely available in the internet and openly accessible to everyone. While subscription journals are only visible to certain people at institutions with license or subscription for specific journal or publisher. That's why sometimes when you click a journal, it says that you have no access to this journal because they are subscription journals. Another is for open access, the author or institution or funder or university pays the article processing charge. So the author or institution pays. While for subscription journals, the reader pays, or sometimes the institution pays, so that the students can read the journals freely. And then in terms of copyright, for open access, the author retains the copyright, while for subscription, the copyrights are usually transferred to the journal. So for some journals, they are offering a hybrid model in which the author may either choose to publish in open access or by subscription. So if you want to check whether a journal is open access or not, you can search at the directory of open access journals in this link or the DOAJ. So when selecting your journal, you should be aware of the predatory publishers as well as predatory journals. So when we say predatory publishing, it is a deceptive publishing which is exploitative, charging publication fees or what we call the article processing charge without checking articles for quality and legitimacy and without providing editorial and publishing services. So how can you distinguish a predatory publisher or journal from those that are not, or from those that are legitimate? So here are some clues. First, their primary goal is to make money. So after getting their money, they do not care about the quality of your work. There is no peer review and no editing. They just get your money and publish your work. Then they make false claims about certain, for example, indexing, or impact factor. And they engage in unethical business practices, those that are not advertised. For example, after accepting the paper, they will charge you some amount which are not published in their website. And then they fail to follow accepted standards or best practices of scholarly publishing, such as the peer review process. Ayan, so this one usually sends emails to potential prey authors. How do they get your emails? Usually if you attend a conference and then you register there, they have a list of emails of potential authors. And what uh, these publishers do is that they send random emails to these potential prey authors, and they are lucky if they get some of these authors. So the last one is that they are included in the Bill's list of potential predatory publishers and journals. So you can click on this link and you will see the list of publishers or standalone journals. So for example, the list of publishers, ayan. So we have the following from the Philippines. For example, the IMUR Multidisciplinary Research. We also have the PAIR, or the Philippine Association of Institutions for Researchers or Research. So note that some of the journals from these publishers are recognized by the Commission on Higher Education. Yet, for international standards, they are considered predatory. Why? There are various reasons why they consider them predatory. For instance, this journal from IMUR Multidisciplinary Research indicates that the journal is indexed in Thomson Reuters. Yet, if you check the journal name in Web of Science, the result is 0 here. Search result, 0, which means that the journal is not indexed, contrary to their claim. On the other hand, if you check the journal name in Pablons, it's also under Web of Science. You can find it here, there, but ayan, the individual articles are not there. So if you search for individual article, for example, this article, so it's not indexed in the Thomson Reuters, contrary with its claim. Another example of predatory publisher is the Science and Education Publisher, or SciEP. So if you click this, then you will be redirected at the publisher site, and you can find the list of the journals. Maybe some of your colleagues have published in this predatory publisher, such as American Journal of Educational Research, and so on. So it should be noted that some of the journals here may not be predatory, as they are indexed in Web of Science as well as Scopus. So moreover, if you click the standalone journals, this one, unfortunately, you may see our very own Asia Pacific Journal of Multidisciplinary Research, which is also accredited by the CHED. So it is now up to us whether we publish in predatory, even if they are credited by CHED, or publish in a journal with good reputation. But the question is, how can we identify whether a journal has good reputation or not? So first, you may look at the indexing or indexation, which indicates the quality of the journal. Indexed journals are considered to be of higher scientific quality as compared to non-indexed journals. And indexed journals have expanded online presence, it gets better visibility, improved article discoverability, and reputable for high quality publication in their own field. Usually, it gets higher citation count than journals that are not indexed. So these are various indexing organizations, such as first one is Google Scholar, which is freely accessible web search engine that indexes the full text or metadata of scholarly literature. Another is the Web of Science, or ISI, Institute for Scientific Information, or Thomson Reuters, or Clarivate Analytics. They are used interchangeably, but they are the same group of company. And the Web of Science includes Science Citation Index, SCI. SSCI is Social Science Citation Index, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, Emerging Science Citation Index, Book Citation Index, and Conference Proceedings Citation Index. And then another database is the Scopus, which is part of the Elsevier. It includes abstracts and citations. That includes peer-reviewed journals in top-level subject fields such as life sciences, social sciences, physical sciences, and health sciences. There are also indexing databases focusing on specific fields, such as PubMed for medical and health sciences, REPEC for economics, and ERIC for education sciences. So how do the Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science indexing differ? So the main difference here is obviously the number of citations, as Google Scholar counts both academic and gray literature, while the other two only count all documents indexed in Scopus or Web of Science. That's why usually these two are lower than the Google Scholar citations. So another way to identify the reputation or the quality of a journal is through matrices. For example, the journal impact factor measures the importance or rank of a journal by calculating the average number of citations of all articles in the last 2 years indexed in Web of Science. So when you encounter impact factor, this only refers to journals indexed in Web of Science. So another matrix is the cite score, which calculates the number of citations again for a specific year over documents published in 3 years. And these are only documents indexed in Scopus. So yung isa ay Web of Science, yung impact factor, and cite score is for Scopus. So for example, you want to compare journals in energy science. So you may use impact factor or cite score, which are quite comparable among journals. So if you cannot see an impact factor, the journal is not indexed in Web of Science. And same for cite score for Scopus. And as you can see on these examples, these three journals are indexed in both Scopus and Web of Science. So another example of journal matrix is the H index or Hirsch index, which refers to the maximum value of H such that the given author or journal has published at least H papers that have each cited at least H times. So medyo magulo yun, no? So, for example, the H index of an author is 8. So here is the 8. H index equals 8. This means that the author has published 8 articles with at least 8 citations. So for journals, for example, the Nature with 415, this indicates that the journal has 415 articles cited at least 5 times in the last 5 years. So given this indexing and matrices gives us enough reasons why we should publish in Web of Science or Scopus Index journals, as summarized below or here. So publishing in journals index in Web of Science or Scopus means the visibility of the author in the databases or these databases, which ensures the adequate and necessary diffusion of our scientific production. So it reaches to different potential audiences, such as researchers, libraries, universities, students, and professors who want to be updated on any topic of interest. And mostly, this ensures quality of research and have higher impact and citations. So to give you a concrete example, here are my first publications in December 17 and January 2018, which are all published within 2 months. So you can clearly see here the huge difference in the number of citations. For the article published in Springer, the first one, which is indexed in both Web of Science and Scopus. So the rest, even if it's a Springer or they are Springer and the other publishers, they are not indexed in Scopus and the Web of Science. So the citations are not as high as this one. So to sum up, here are some guidelines in selecting your peer-reviewed journal. First, it is essential to obtain reasonable comprehensive knowledge about the available journals in a given subject area by online search or consulting your peers. The next one is to check the quality of the journal by looking at the indexing status, as well as the impact factor or the citation score of the journal. The fourth one is that you should match your paper with the aims and scope of the journal, and then check the journal requirements and distribution. For example, if the journal have a certain style, like MLA or APA 6, APA 7, then you collect information about the journal's peer review process, whether it's a single blind or double blind. And lastly, check the instructions for authors thoroughly. So para hindi tayo mahirapan, there are publishers with a web page that suggests the appropriate journal for your paper. So if you already have a paper, you have a title, and then you have the abstract, you can just type it in the, for example, in the Springer, they have this journal suggester. So you just type the title and then the abstract, and if you click this suggest journals, so here are the results. So this gives you information on the impact factor, the number of days it takes to have the first decision after your submission, and then we have this acceptance rate. So, for example, the 16% means that only 16 papers are published from 100 submissions in that year. You can also see here whether the journal is open access with OA, by subscription with S, or hybrid. So if you see OA and S, that is hybrid. So in our paper, we submitted it to Energy, Sustainability, and Society because that's the first one here. And after 6 months of peer review process, fortunately, it was published. So another example is um, the Elsevier's counterpart, which is named Journal Finder. So this process is the same as the journal suggester. You can type the title and then the abstract, and you can optionally add keywords here. Then if you click suggest journals, and then you can find the results which are similar with the Springer. So this result provides information about the site score, which is for Scopus, the impact factor for Web of Science, and then the acceptance rate, time to first decision, time to production, and then the text match score. So in this example, we chose to publish in Applied Energy, even with a low acceptance rate, but it is the most appropriate with the contents of our paper. And fortunately, it was published in 6 months after 3 rounds of peer review process. So, to conclude, here are some takeaways that we can learn from our discussion. First, we should publish or perish. So you should publish your academic work in order to succeed in an academic career, as well as to make contribution to the academic or scholarly community. Second, give credit to the rightful author. Instead of using our subordinates or our students for our own gain, let us help them build their own academic career and make a significant contribution to our society. Then quality over quantity. We should publish our research in internationally indexed and peer-reviewed journals that assure the quality of our work and maintain the integrity of science by not supporting predatory publishers or journals. And if you are starting up, find an expert in your field to help you learn the science and art of publishing. While if you are an expert, build, wait, build collaborations with other researchers for a more holistic approach to addressing our country's or our society's problems. So that's all. Thank you for listening. And the floor is now open for your questions.
All right. Thank you, Sir Casper, for a very interesting input and for highlighting some concepts that would otherwise escape many who are not very well exposed to the world of publication, like the indexing, for example. So, as promised, I will be reading the questions that you posted, so our speaker will be able to address them. May I first invite Sir Casper to join me? All right. Hello, sir. Um, let's look at the comments section. Okay. So I'll read the first one. I know there are different motivations for publishing a paper, but for those who want to publish for the first time, what advice would you give regarding which aspect should they look out for in publishing journals? Should it be the visibility of the author, the quality of research, or the high impact and citation indices? Um,
Okay, now it's unmute. Okay, so first you need, if you're not sure about your work, the first thing to do is you ask those experts. I think if you are working in a university, then I'm sure that your senior colleagues have already experienced publishing. So what you can do is ask them how to publish or how to start publishing. And then in terms of the criteria I showed you before, well, it depends on your motivation. So if your motivation is to publish faster, then you can look at the publishing times, like the editorial decision after submission. But if you are looking for quality, then you may look at the impact factor or the number of citations that the journal have. Then, if you want a better visibility of your work, then you look for the indexing of the journal. So I showed you before different indexing database, whether it's indexed in usually all articles, whether it's academic or not, are published or indexed in Google Scholar. But very few journals, not very few, but only quality journals are indexed in Scopus and Web of Science. And I think in the live stream, um, we typed the link for the Scopus and the Web of Science. So if you want to look which journals are present there or indexed in those databases, then you can just search your preferred journal.
Okay, yes, I can see the links that are posted in the comment section. Sir Lot Mehir has a very basic but very important, equally important question. And he said, "Hi Sir Casper, good morning. Ano po ang ibig sabihin ng peer-reviewed journal? Thanks."
Thank you for that question. Um, um, I forgot to mention what is the meaning of peer-reviewed journals. But in one of the slides, I mentioned there about the academic or scholarly publishing. And the meaning of peer-reviewed journals is also the same. So when we say peer-reviewed, the journal has a process of rigorous peer review process in which the author is an expert of a certain field, submits a paper, and that paper is reviewed by authors in the same field or in another field. And these reviewers are called peers. That's why it's called peer reviewed. And after the different steps, such as first review, and then it will sent back to the author for the review, for the revision, and then it will be submitted again, and then it depends on the editor whether it will go another peer review. So in some cases, usually there are two peer-reviewed rounds, but in I experienced up to third review. So that is the peer review process. So in when we say peer-reviewed journals, the paper undergoes a rigorous peer review process.
So when you say rigorous, it would imply a longer time, waiting time for the researcher. Hindi yung
Yes, that's
overnight,
why.
mabayad ka lang.
Yes, that's correct. In my experience, a paper usually takes 3 to 6 months of waiting for the review,
Wow.
and then until it gets published. Sometimes, or in worst case, after 6 months, the paper is rejected.
Oh
So
dear.
that's part of the process.
Pait. Yes, that's part. That's part. Okay. So thank you daw po, Sir Casper. Ma'am Angel here has another question. Good morning, Sir Casper. Salamat sa sharing nyo. Bakit po may kamahalan ang publication fee? Is it automatic ba na predatory journal na yan? Especially pag
Okay.
mahal, diretso bayad.
Yeah, that's a good question and controversial, I may say.
Yes.
So, with regards to the cost, it covers a lot of things. For example, the review process. So, some journals pay some token to the reviewers in terms of vouchers or cash. I'm not sure about the other journals, but one journal usually give a token. Well, for other publishers, they do give discounts for publishing and buying books or the journal subscription. So, kasama yun sa nako-cover nung publication fee. Another is the application for indexing databases such as DOI or direct object identifier. And then if the journal is indexed in Scopus or Web of Science, so the application of um, the indexing is also included in the fee. And of course, the editorial processes,
Mm-mm.
which include proofreading, English editing, and then formatting, and then
Yes.
changing the um, format from Word to online format, and so on. So those
Yes.
cover the publication fee, or sometimes what we call article processing charge. Now, for the second question, is it automatic ba na predatory journal yan? So, it was a controversial before, raised by the subscription publishers. Kasi yung itong open access publishing, it is a business model because before the model is was subscription, in which the university or institution pays to subscribe in a journal or publisher. But the open access publishing model was established, I think, a decade ago by Los One. And then instead of um, I will give a short introduction about the difference between the two in terms of the access of the audience. The problem with subscription is that not everyone can read the articles,
Definitely. Yes.
and that results to um, inequality
Mm-mm.
between those who pays and those who cannot pay for the subscription, particularly in developing least developed countries, which cannot subscribe to the journals. Then they do not have the access to the knowledge or new knowledge from the publication. So this open access gives um, removes this open access removes this barrier of inequality to access journals. So what they did is that instead of by subscription, they ask the authors or the institution or their funder to pay the publication so that it will be accessible to everyone. So bakit
Mm.
ayan, so sagutin natin yung tanong, automatic ba na predatory? The answer is it could be yes and it could be no. So as I presented before, we can consider it predatory when it only asks for the fees or the publication fee without without editorial process and checking the quality of your work. Editorial process and peer review process. So after makuha
Mm-mm.
yung bayad and then they publish it without peer review, then that is considered predatory. So yes and
Okay, thank you po, sir. We have another question here from Ma'am Charm. Good morning po. Review fee is quite pricey. Paano po makakahanap ng journal na Scopus Index na hindi ganun kamahal para sa newbie? Thanks po. Ayun. Paano nga po ba?
okay. That is tough. That is a tough question because um, for me it is still difficult to find a journal or indexed journals that has no fee.
Yes.
So the only thing you can do here is um, publish it by subscription, in which the author does not pay. That's the
Mm-mm.
only. That's one of the choices. So first is um, I showed in one of the slides before that for if you search for a journal or for journals that matches your title and your abstract, and the journal finder or journal suggester gives or suggests different journals, you can identify there whether the journal is by subscription or by open access. So if the
Mm-mm.
author cannot pay, then you select the journal with S or those journals by subscription.
Subscription.
So that's
We
one
should.
thing.
Mm-mm.
So another thing is you apply for funding.
Yes.
So
Pwede.
some universities give fund for the publication fee. So I'm not sure of the universities here in the Philippines whether they do it. But for example, in Germany, the government they call it DFG. It's a fund for research. They pay for the publication fee, and in the Netherlands, they have an agreement with Elsevier in which if the university is a member of this group, then all authors coming from these universities may publish freely in
Wow.
Elsevier, and the university will pay for everything. So in my last publication, I think they paid 3,000 euros for the paper. Ayon. So, three things. First, you find the subscription. Then, if you cannot pay, you find a funder from your university or external funding. There are some
Okay.
non-governmental organizations that fund the publication process.
Yes. Thank you po. So pag gusto talaga meron.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, since we are not aware of these processes, so hindi natin alam na ang alam lang natin mahal mag-publish, but
Mm.
we do not know yet that there are some institutions that pay for the publication. So it's good that we have this discussion so that somehow we can learn something from this.
Opo. Thank you. In fact, universities are actually encouraging that and are actually supporting publication of researches. May question pa po again from Ma'am Angel. Ito, usual ito na mga question. Sir Casper, ano po bang unang-unang gagawin kung magpa-publish medyo challenge po kasi kung paano mag-start. Ayun, how to start.
Okay. So, dalawa yan. Una, if you already have a paper, ibig sabihin nun, may nagawa ka na before, but you don't know how to publish or how to start publishing. So the first thing is, as I presented in one of the slides, you list possible journals that matches your work. So for example, you are working on a nature-based solution for example mangrove rehabilitation, then you list a journal or you list all journals that may be um, possible journals for your publication. Then after listing them, you compare their quality or their indexing, their number of citations, their publication times, and the publication process, peer review process, and so on. So yun lang. List them and then compare. Now, if you don't have any paper yet, so yung una kasi, meron ka ng paper. So maghahanap ka na lang kung saan mo pwedeng i-publish. Now, if you don't have a paper yet, one thing that I learned from experience is you look for a journal first. You look for a journal and what is their style of writing or publishing, and then you start from there. You follow their format, how do they write, what are the parts of the paper, and so on.
So, titingnan mo yung mga models, mga published, mga articles.
So
So, you will
meron
be
ka ng
enlightened.
model.
Oh,
Yeah, for
yes.
example, you you oh, oh, you download an article there, and from that article you already have your format, and then just
Mm-mm.
fill in your information there.
Okay. With the topic that you're interested to do or
Mm.
to write about. Um, may question din po ako. Naisip ko
Yes,
because
ma'am.
you were encouraging collaboration and networking. Um, if for somebody who is not very well versed on that area, kasi sabi mo po you could either collaborate with your own colleagues or with researchers from other universities. Ano po bang mas maganda? You collaborate first with your colleagues? You go directly with other universities? Would that have as any implication with the publication po?
Well, it depends on the expertise of your colleagues.
Yes, yes,
So
definitely.
if you think that your paper needs experts from other universities of or your colleagues doesn't have the necessary expertise that you need in your paper, then it's better to collaborate with other experts from outside of your university. But if you think that maybe your colleagues have this expertise, then it is better first to collaborate with your colleagues. Now, what is the
Mm,
implication of having a collaboration with other universities? From the perspective of a reviewer and the editor, it is better to have a collaboration outside of your university because it encourages accountability and
mm-mm,
double checking of the quality of your work. Kasi kapag
yes.
within the university, as a reviewer, I may think that they can they can manipulate the results or their experiments. But if there are other experts from
Mm-mm,
other universities, then they can check the quality and the validity of their work. So it's
yes.
for the perspective of the editor and reviewer, it is better to have a collaboration outside the university.
Very insightful. Oo nga, no? So, when it comes to credibility of results, mas maganda po yung from many sources, hindi lang po sa iisang university. Although, tama siya if expertise is tama, there would be no
Yes, ma'am.
problem.
And in addition to that, if there are different authors, especially with the different backgrounds, then that adds another perspective to your paper, making it more interdisciplinary
Yes,
than just
interdisciplinary.
looking at one perspective. Unfortunately, ma'am, in the Philippines, in terms of promotion and getting some points for promotion, the points are divided among the authors,
Yun po.
which
Ganun nga po.
discourages the collaboration among peers and with other universities. So, from these guidelines, I think they encourages the faculty to publish as a sole author rather than collaborate with other universities. So,
Mm.
I think you should balance between promotion and the scientific rigor or quality of your work.
Oo nga, no? That's true, that's true. Okay. Do we still have other from our viewers? Wala na ba? Okay. Going once? Parang auction. Going twice? All right. So, ayun, meron pa pala. Ano po ang ideal na number of authors sa application at ano po ang implication nito? Ayun, maganda rin to. Sole author versus many authors.
Well, I think it depends on your institution because in most institutions here in the Philippines, they prefer sole author. But
Mm-mm.
in European countries or other countries, they prefer collaboration among authors. And the answer to this is, I think it depends on the expertise of the authors. If you want a more interdisciplinary approach to your work, then it's better to have maybe three or four or more authors. But if the paper is discipline specific, for example, engineering paper, and you will
Mm-mm.
publish it in a specialist journal, then one or two authors is fine.
Okay. Highly technical, yung mga ganun na mga
Kasi
that.
before, most journals are subject specific. So yung
Opo.
mga technical na journals. But new journals or emerging journals now are focusing more on interdisciplinary approach to
Yes.
address certain problems.
That's true. That's true po. Kasi no man is an island. Everybody is interconnected. Regardless of what expertise or what field. So maganda interdisciplinary. Okay, so I think the number of authors, the issue in the number of authors was addressed. So parang tama, no? Ganun. Oo nga. Okay. So I,
One final
yes po.
note on that. Um, it is also better to have your own publication as a sole author. So it's a balance. You collaborate with other authors, but make sure that you also have a publication with
Your own.
or as a sole author. Ayun
Yes.
po, ma'am.
Opo. Okay. This has been a very, very insightful thing, don't you think? So if you don't have any other questions, parang wala na, excited na sila sa susunod na episode. Thank you, Dr. Agaton, Sir Casper,
Welcome
for
po, ma'am.
this very, very good learning po. And as a token of our gratitude, we would like to present to you this certificate of recognition Okay, let me read the citation. This certificate of recognition is presented to Casper B. Agaton, PhD, for sharing his knowledge and expertise as resource speaker during the webinar on publishing in peer-reviewed journal conducted by the Center for Human Development on December 15, 2021 via Facebook Live. Given this 15th day of December 2021 at the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, CM Rector, Lapasan, Cagayan de Oro City. Signed, Angeli S. Azcuna Colyera, ENT, Head Center for Human Development, USTP. Signed, Greg M. Cubio, Doctor of Engineering, Director, USTP Research Centers and Institutes. Signed, Ruel R. Cabahog, PhD, Vice President, Research and Innovation. And signed, Ambrosio B. Culturan, PhD, USTP System President. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome po, ma'am. And again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my little knowledge about this topic. And I'm very passionate about publication and sharing my experiences with the peers and also my students.
Yes. So thank you again, sir. I hope you found today's webinar informative, instructive, and enlightening. I would like to recognize and thank the people behind this webinar, the USTP administration led by our system president, Dr. Ambrosio Caballero II, the faculty researchers and research associates of the Center for Human Development, headed by Ma'am Angeli Colyera. Of course, the technical team with special mention to Mr. Jerwin Boron. Thank you. And Miss Anifil Amo, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you so, so much for making all of these happen. I hope you have not forgotten to fill out the evaluation sheet pinned at the comments section. You know as well as I do how to do this, diba? So we have now reached the end of this webinar, but this would not be the last time you'd be seeing us. As I said earlier, and as our speaker had said, we are brewing an upcoming workshop for you. It will be ready next year. And FYI, next year starts in 16 days. So keep updated by liking the In Harmony page. This has been Lorena Taglukop, your host for today. And I say research should not be scary. Just look at it this way, it's the distance between an idea and its realization. Publication should not be scary and difficult either, if you look at it as both the documentation and the sharing of something significant to the body of knowledge. And to those who are very anxious about formatting and payments and everything and documentation, let me make um, this lighter. I'd like to lighten the mood and leave you this sentence from the American writer J.M. in Latino accent. Be? The road to publication is like churro, long and bumpy but sweet. Good day, everyone. See you soon, and thank you for watching.